I always tell the people after I decline, I tell them, by the way, you have the hardest job in America, and if you could do this job effectively, you could fucking do anything.
Okay, yeah, no, when we last talked, how's your grandma up in Florence doing? Oh,
right.
Wait, what the fuck? Oh, yeah, Conner, yeah. Just off those set of meeting, I don't particularly 100% need this right now, but he remembered my fucking grandma in Florence, so.
And you train that person well, and then they do well. What's to stop them from doing the same thing you did when you left your employer to start that same company? And what you're saying right now, Nicole, is so be it. We got them while they're here, though.
Our goal is a business owner, CEO, executive should not be to keep people in our organization forever.
Welcome to 2000% Raise, hosted by the man who took down billion-dollar companies while sitting at his kitchen table, John Cerasani. Left that big job in my 20s to become an entrepreneur. Everyone said I would fail, but I got winner in my core. Sold my company to private equity and the money poured. I got millions times galore. Not bad for a kid from Schaumburg, right?
Welcome to another episode of 2000% Raised. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're splitting it into two parts. The first half is live in the studio in Las Vegas, where the second half is a virtual. And I think you're really going to learn a lot from both of these. The first part is with two younger entrepreneurs in their 20s, Conner and Cavin, who you'll be meeting shortly, keeping the integrity of the show, talking about entrepreneurship and that come up. And then the second half of the show is on the other end of the spectrum, talking about faith-based leadership with a veteran of the industry, Nicole Vallance. So have at it.
All right, welcome to another episode of 2000% Raise, and today's guests are, it's kind of a unique way we came to be here. And before I introduce them, I'll talk a little bit about what they do with their company, how it reflected or made me reflect on how I was building my damn company. I wanted to do everything myself, everything in-house, okay? And that included the sales process. Now, every once in a while, I'd hire people to bring in and, hey, you set me appointments, you call these universities up, get me a meeting with these CFOs or whatever, and I'd give them a script and tell them exactly what to say and what the hot buttons are, and they could just never do it as good as I could do it, no matter what I told them. And then once I even remember hiring an outside telemarketing company, because when you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, you get hit up by these ancillary organizations that want to bring services to smaller organizations to make your life a little bit easier. And I remember hiring this telemarketing company once. We had 2 weeks of calls going in. I had to train their people on exactly what to say and whatever. And, and then I'd get notes back from them about warm leads and shit like that. And I'm reading them and it's like, all right, well, I have an appointment next Friday now at 4 p.m. with this person because they're not happy that their premiums were raised 12%. And they're willing to meet with me to see what I could do about that. Well, my company's value proposition had nothing to do with insurance premiums and rates. We didn't approach it in a way to save money. But how would this telemarketer be able to pivot and understand why the fuck she's saying that to him in the first place? Or, you know what I mean? And finally, I think around year 3, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just done trying. I'm going to fucking do cold calls myself. I'm going to call people up and I'm just going to tell them, hey, this is John Cerasani with Northwest Comprehensive. And, I just want to put a name to the face. I happen to be in your area. In fact, I'm going to see your neighbor down the street and make up some shit. And mind if I stop in and drop off my card? And, usually they'd say no, but sometimes they said yes. And that's how I'd get my meeting. Put me in front of those damn people. I just couldn't get to the point to outsource it. Now I knew, all right, I had my company for 9.5 years. And then I ended up selling it off to private equity. If I were to keep going internally building that instead of selling it, I would have eventually needed to scale if I wanted to grow. And that would have had to include other salespeople and other agents working under me. Now, those salespeople and those agents, I wouldn't be able to expect them to do everything from A to Z like I'm doing, because if they're going to be expected to do that, why the fuck are they working for me? They might as well go start their own fucking company. You know what I mean? So I would have had to bring in resources like, hey, we're going to give you leads. We're going to give you prospect meetings. Okay. So I would see competitors of mine doing that. So it really just became the conundrum for me as I just approached the world on how to do that. So, today's guests, Cavin Sherman and Conner Fredrickson, do lead generation to a specific industry. And I'm going to let them speak to it. Obviously far more intelligently than I am, because I'd give companies like yours 2 weeks. Oh, didn't work. Get the fuck out. Yeah. But we came to be in touch really from Conner, and this was kind of a feather in my cap, I guess, because these guys are both in their 20s. And like a lot of other people, they know me from Instagram, or maybe in your case was it TikTok or Instagram? Instagram, okay. And, you know, Conner took that extra step, which most of you motherfuckers don't do, by the way, and actually go into Amazon and buy my fucking book. And I remember him fucking texting me, hey, I'm buying this for my whole sales team. It's only like, you know, a handful of you guys, but I'm buying it and making everyone fucking read it. I'm like, that's fucking cool, man. And he followed up with me after they read it, said it was a fucking great book, which it is. And I got to tell you, man, it was a feather in my cap, Conner, because I don't know all the time how this shit's going to vibe, all right? When I was a little bit older than you guys, I wrote a different book called Paid Training. This is back in 2011. Very similar to what you're reading in that book, but I was still in the grind. I was still growing the company. And I've had some people go back and buy that book after they've read this one. I go, don't buy that one. This new one's so much fucking better. Yeah. But to people that are in it right on, no, I like Paid Training better because you could feel your fucking grit. You could feel like you're in the thick of it. Like I had still that chip on my shoulder because I hadn't really made it yet. And that one is all focused on the bullshit of corporate America and dude, why the fuck, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And when I go back and read it, they're damn right. That never would have come out of my mouth right now. I didn't have that passion, like with something to fucking prove anymore. Where now 2000% Raise book that you read is more like my victory lap. What's up, motherfuckers? You know what I mean? So anyway, it was it's cool that you guys vibed with that. So anyhow, Cavin Sherman, Conner Fredrickson, welcome to the show.
Yeah. No, awesome, it's finding your book it's like where we're at right now.
Okay.
We came from a company that luckily encouraged that. They encouraged us to, like when we signed up, I was one of the first 3 members at this very respected go-to-market B2B firm called Branch 49. And he always was like, hey, when you guys start your own shop, he showed us everything. He showed us all the sauce.
Yep.
And so since he did that, like I put 3 years into it, and I was mostly, because I had a lot of other stuff going on in my life, I was working hard, but that last year I really went in and did the knowledge. So I was reading, you know, $100 million offers. I was reading Flip the Script by Oren Claft and taking notes on it. And the business was forming in my mind. And we decided, because I also met Conner at Branch 49, and we're like, oh, we can do this.
Yep.
And so we just were like, what if we just knock solar for a little bit? Because I came from the door-to-door alarm space.
Okay.
I actually went into door-to-door because I realized I sucked at communication. Like I was way too quiet. I'm like, I know for a fact I'm gonna be broke when I'm older until I start talking to people. So that first year ate shit. Second did a little better. Third did way better. And it literally changed my personality.
You know what I do when a door-to-door person comes to my fucking door, dude? I'm always fucking annoyed. I have a big-ass fucking house. Gotta walk all the way across the house, open the fucking door, and they're trying to sell me, like, hail damage on a roof repair or some fucking shit.
Pest control.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right fucking, what exactly, or lawn care or something. I'm like, motherfucker, you don't think I have a lawn care fucking company already, motherfucker? Well, and then they start trying to poke holes in the company I use. Who are you using? True Green? Yes, okay, bye. Anyway, I always tell the people after I decline, I tell them, by the way, you have the hardest job in America, and if you could do this job effectively, you could fucking do anything. I always tell them that after I decline, and they don't know how to react because they're kind of pissed. And a lot of time it's seasoned people that have like in their 30s that have been fucking doing this shit, so they have their shit down, dude. They're trying to pull. It's like a game to them to win me over, and I'm playing the game with them. Like, no, okay, hey, listen, save your breath. Okay. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I respect you because that's a fucking hard job, and they don't know anyway.
Yeah, so we basically just did kind of like let's knock solar for like just a couple months and then build this company on the side. Yeah. And then through that, because I didn't do door-to-door for a couple of years. I went from door-to-door to doing phone and cold calling.
You were doing door-to-door solar?
Door-to-door solar, yep. And I was getting my teeth kicked in for the last couple of weeks. It finally clicked, and like all the stuff from when I did alarms kind of came back. Okay. By that point, we had the company built, and we just kind of jump ship and did it.
Yeah.
But no, it was the best decision.
Yeah. Did you make any sales on solar?
One sale.
Yeah.
Just one sale. And I had so many close calls.
Yeah.
I know for a fact if I just kept in it, just like alarms, I would eventually got those sales.
Yeah.
But it was kind of just a Trojan horse of like, all right, we're going to work during the day, and then at night we're going to work on our side business.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, man, your business right now, first of all, it's B2B instead of B2C with solar, use on the residents. I think just right off the bat, because of that alone, is a differentiator, I think, from a prestige standpoint and just the type of business that you're freaking doing. I think solar, it's like other industries, man. There's a wide range, dude. You got some fucking shady motherfuckers in that industry, dude.
Yeah, we're lucky because right now, especially with the digital age, like there's hacks happening every day in cybersecurity. So when I worked at Branch 49, the first company we worked with was a Bible curriculum company.
Okay.
So we were like peddling Bible curriculum. Then about 3 or 4 clients later, we worked with a company called Cyber Theory.
Okay.
And worked with companies like Guardicore, Sophos, Darktrace, like some of the biggest players in the industry. And our CEO, Corey Frank, he was very much like, hey, you own a business within a business. So he'd have us like write the screenplays. He would have us take client calls. So we were very active in the business. And I kind of just like fell into the niche of cybersecurity and IT. Like I think it's because I'm a little bit more monotone. I'm a little more chill. That I vibe with IT directors and CISOs pretty well. And I noticed like I got handed this one client called Laris, and they do high boutique pen testing. So basically companies will hire them to hack themselves to show their vulnerabilities.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff. So I just like at night, I watched like 4 hours of pen testing videos. And I was getting all these nugs. I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to kill it. So like on the phone, sell like 8 demos.
Wow.
And so our business with IT and cyber, what's cool is we know the ICP. So it's really, there's 4 parts of the process. It's target, list, message, rep. Okay. Because it's IT and cyber, we know who the right people are. Yep. But we can even help companies that don't know their ICP. So there's a lot of great companies out there that have awesome products, awesome services. Yep. But they don't even know who to sell it to. Okay. Right? And they don't even know if they have the right product market fit. Yeah. So case in point, that's where Conner's really good at. So Conner, he'll take like the weirdest campaigns, like stuff I do not want to call it all. And
nobody wants to call it.
Just beat it to death. And because, there's a reason why he just messaged out of the blue and is like, let me come. Like, exactly. his fear button.
Could you guys be in Vegas Wednesday? He was like, fuck yeah. Like, are you sure, buddy?
Well, no, you weren't responding. I was like, motherfucker, I'm going to fly to Schaumburg right now.
Bro, because it was 2 hours later in Chicago. You were in Arizona, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And the messages, sometimes, dude, when I get messages that are like machine gun messages like that, like 6 in a row, I'm like, all right, this guy might be fucking on meth right now or something.
No. I'm just kidding. Just crack.
Yeah. No, man, that was cool how you reached out. So to Cavin's point then, are you, so at your guys' old company, were you at Branch 49 as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys worked with any industry there, correct?
Yeah, for the most part. There were some weird ones that, we did once. Like there was this company called Retainer Club. Okay. Basically gets you new retainers. Okay. People fucking lose them every 3 seconds.
Like mouth retainer, like dental retainers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we figured it out. Well, actually, I figured it out a little bit because nobody wanted to call it. So I would just call and pretty much just bully the receptionist and like putting a meeting on the doctor's calendar. So didn't get any meetings with them for like 3 months. Yeah. And then I set like 12. Okay. And then maybe one of them showed and the doctor was like pissed off. And then we're like,
what's this about?
Yeah, exactly. So we're like, okay, we're not going back to that. Yeah. But a different company called Vervo, so they're an AI skill assessment tool. Basically what they do is they put you in a virtual sandbox of what the job entails, right? So then you go through and pretty much just see how you perform in the job. And then it's AI, obviously. So each one of your hires, it's going to track and then how different people perform. Yeah. It'll basically just eventually learn to hire for you, right? Okay. So that company was struggling for a bit, and I was able to figure out what their true ICP is, right? Because if you have a $500 million company and a $5 million company, $5 million company, basically the HR manager, they're going to handle everything, right? You get to a $500 million company, they have HR manager, talent acquisition, client or talent retainment, all these different ones, right? So I'm calling these $500 million companies, talking to an HR manager. No, fuck this. We don't need this. Right. Right. I'm like, right. Yeah. But then I start to notice, okay, I just called this company. This HR manager told me to fuck off. Right. See, the same company, I'm talking to talent acquisition. they're like, oh my God, yes,
Yeah.
I need this.
Yep.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm a numbers guy. So I like going through the sheet, different, like evaluating pretty much every different thing, right? Looking at rev range, person who took it. Then I started to see a pattern, then, you know, go over to the data people. Hey, I need to call just talent acquisition for companies 500 million and up.
Well, you know, and also that talent acquisition person typically is lower on the totem pole than the HR director or a manager, and he or she's not used to getting their ass kissed by the vendors. So you might be the only call for a month that fucking kisses their ass. Oh yeah, sure, come meet. Let's go to lunch, sir.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
That's cool. Do you know what I used to do, man? I used to we were talking about people not fucking showing up to the calls. I used to. I would have, this is when actually I had somebody working for me trying to set up meetings, and I would have him, like, we would do a webinar on Thursday at 1 p.m. and like Friday at 2 p.m. or something to make up 2 times each week. And back then people weren't really using Zoom. We were called GoToMeeting. It was a service that they called, but you can't see who else is on the call. So just me be doing a presentation. So I'd like position it like there's 100 fucking HR directors from colleges all over the country on the call. There's usually like one person. And I'm like, oh, and I see a question coming in now from so-and-so, make up some fucking name. Oh, thank you for that. It was just some point I wanted to fucking make. You know what I mean? But I feel you though, because we'd have like 12 people commit to being on the calls and literally zero to 2 would show up. You know what I mean? So anyway, so your company is called Exodus Sales Collective.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And is it a distinction then? Here's where I was going with that question, by the way. Is that a distinction then that you guys are focusing specific on that niche? And it sounds like you fell into it because you were doing research for an existing client and saw how specialized it was. And then you guys leaving to start your own firm, because we'll see it in like recruiting a lot, dude. We'll see like in headhunting, they'll be focused on industry. Okay. It sounds like you guys came up with this yourselves.
Yeah, that's the unique value proposition. It's like, hey, we're IT cyber focused. We're a go-to-market growth partner. So yes, we want to get you meetings. We want to get you in touch with the right people, but it's also market research, right? We want to, the no's are worth just as much as the yeses. Why are they saying no? They're under contract with the company. Who's that company? We report that to a company. That's worth so much money. Okay. So we're kind of the ears to the ground. Yeah. And if there's, you know, for example, when it comes to like from the meeting side, kind of most people do it through email. Right, everyone, when it comes to lead gen, it's like, hey, I want to mass send as many emails as possible. Okay. And that's cool, and then that can work. But what we found as far as the stats show, so there's this company called Bridge Group that does stats on sales organizations. Yep. Sales organizations that lead with the phone do 2 times as much revenue as in any other organization.
Really?
Reason for that, so yes, let's say you send a bunch of emails, right? You got to send up crazy volume to get responses back. Right. You know, LinkedIn's good. You can send a message. They can see your profile and, you know, history and everything. Phone, when I call you, I can hear the tone of your voice. I can hear if you're mad, frustrated. Yep. If you sound interested, if you went, when I made a point. Yep. And then, you know, Zoom calls are awesome, but you can't really call people over Zoom.
Just randomly creepy. FaceTime people.
And then face to face is, you know, they did a say on this, it's 1 million bits of information face to face. It's extremely valuable. Yeah. But I can't, as much as I'd love to send Conner around to like talk people face to face, because that's what he's really good at. Right. It doesn't make sense. But I can have 20 to 40 conversations in the total addressable market of my clients per day. Okay. Which is gold. Because then if we have a messaging, right? Because we have the messaging to the ICP, like, hey, let's say I'm talking to IT director. There's a way I want to talk to the IT director. Yep. If I'm talking to a VP of sales for some sort of sales SaaS product, I'm going to talk in a way that's going to make sense to him. Right. And then we can always 3 days. Give it 3 days. Let's just say we're getting some weird. I can pivot that messaging, and all of a sudden we can test different things. So it's all about experimentation.
So what's a big part of your value proposition though is when you say go to market, it's generating leads for their sales team as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, qualified. So it depends. With IT and cyber, it's pretty straightforward. So if we're doing some sort of unified communications product like a business phone system, it's usually 3-year contracts, right? And they got some sort of provider, and you're playing that contract game. With cybersecurity, what's cool is it's very layered. Okay. So as the bigger the companies go, the more layers it needs. You know, big company might need a 24/7, security operations center. They may need a threat hunting.
And your client is the provider of those.
Correct.
Okay, and then you're going to go find. Okay, and why do they need a company like yours? Why don't they just call these people themselves?
So what you'd find, so a lot of amazing companies out there who know everything about their product, but they don't understand how humans buy things.
Okay.
And that's the psychology that we understand. So we take the features and benefits and all the cool stuff, because you talk to anyone who's like a CEO of their company or tech guy, they're like, it does this, it does that, it does this. They sham wow you.
Yeah.
But people don't make decisions unless there's pain involved.
Got it.
Unless there's something about to happen. So you have to hit those receptors, right? You have to speak to that croc brain, to reference Oren Klaff.
Okay.
And like make them like, oh shoot, there's a hack that just happened at MGM. Oh shoot, even though I do have a cybersecurity company, a lot of them aren't doing patch management correctly.
Okay.
You don't want to, of course, when you do this, you have to do it and keep their dignity, right? You don't want to be like, your thing sucks. It's like, hey, Mr. Prospect, what we've observed in the market is a lot of IT directors we speak to, they want to manage less systems in general.
Right.
We're seeing, because COVID, they downloaded every single tool, and there's just so much swivel chairing between the end users, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, shoot, the pain's there, and it's like, okay, I probably should check this out. They're not going to, go to the meeting because you have cool stuff. They already have cool stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone's got cool stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone's driven by pain, and that's how
we would do that in insurance a lot. We would call it, I call it scare tactic selling almost, but usually for a reason, because there'd be insurance products like for instance, the identity theft company LifeLock. They started selling it as an employee benefit program, like group LifeLock policies for everybody. So every time there was like a security breach or something, we'd like send it out. Hey, were you aware of this? If you put LifeLock in, this could happen to your organization. If it happened to Disney, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's pretty damn interesting, man. That's pretty damn interesting. So you're getting in the damn door, bringing them this value proposition. Then what? So Conner, if you opened up that door, and then are you then handing it off to? Is there like a team coordinator, or are you that, or what?
Well, basically, I mean, we have a Calendly link to any organization that we're going to be setting for.
Okay.
So yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned like the hack at MGM. So one of our cybersecurity companies, right when that happened, I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, let's reach out to literally every casino right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, just use the scare tactic, right?
Yeah. So they had a solution that would have, or you're positioning it as they would have had a solution to potentially prevent that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's just like, hey, they got hacked, so you guys should probably reevaluate everything, right? MGM's huge.
Yeah. But the company, your clients need you guys to be telling them this shit. They don't know this on their own.
It's the SDR position is a very overlooked and misunderstood position, because when someone
What's it called?
SDR, so sales development representative, right?
Okay.
So if someone comes in, they want to be in sales, right? Usually they go to some technology companies like, all right, you got to cold call first.
Got it.
If they're good, which most companies don't understand cold calling because it's a science. They think you can just talk to 30 people in a day and that's it.
Yep.
You got to be making 100, 200 dials.
Yeah.
Use like AI dialers. We're able to really amplify that.
Yeah.
Well, and it gets a horrible rep too, because people are like, "Oh no, I'm not going to cold call. I'm not going to be a fucking telemarketer."
Right.
What do you mean? You're not? I'm not calling to sell paper towels or some bullshit, right? Like
exactly.
This is security that these people need
Yep.
that they probably don't know about because they have so much other shit on their desk that they're trying to take care of.
Yep.
So yeah, it gets a bad rep, and a lot of people just they don't want to do it. They're afraid to pick up the phone. They're afraid to reach out on Instagram to someone. So
they think they're above it or something, right?
Exactly.
And then you'll get these fucking tech sales guys that are making $400,000 a year, working 20 hours a week, but they don't have time to fucking cold call. What the fuck's wrong with you, bro?
Yeah.
Well, the good SDRs generally just go up to AEs anyway. Now that position's always just, there's so much turnover.
Oh, really?
If they suck, then they fall out. Like no one wants to be cold calling forever.
Yeah.
Generally.
Okay.
And that's where we come in, where we're able to specialize in cold calling, love the game of it, because there's a process, right? You come in, you're not just speaking a million miles a minute. It's like, hey, John, listen, I know I'm an interruption here, and don't think we've ever spoken before. Mind if I grab a quick half minute? I'll tell you why I called, and then let you get back to it, right? Permission-based opener.
Yeah.
Now we're hitting change in the world, front-loading the problems, going into that unique value proposition, and then downselling, because, we just hit them with a lot of fear. So if we go, hey, realize you probably already have something like this in place already, but just want to see if you'd be completely opposed to carving out 15 minutes with my director sometime next week.
Yeah.
How does your, you even have to just like, how does your Tuesday morning look? And I'm like, oh wait, actually, boom. Right. And then at the end of that call, we're qualifying. It's like, now we're digging for pain. It's like, oh, we're using now. Love it, hate it. It's okay. It's just the support's been kind of lacking. And, oh, really? Is it how long has that been going on for? Yeah. Boom. I'm writing all that stuff down. So then on that next call, we bring that up. He's like, oh shoot, yeah, it probably should. Because if you can tell them that things are not going well, they're not going to believe it until it comes out of their mouth.
Right.
And that's where.
Good point. Yeah, great point, man. And it's funny, like in some weird kind of way too, right? You're kind of qualifying yourself on what your services could be by making this sale for me to get this meeting with you in the first place. You know what I mean? We're showcasing we sold you, didn't we?
Yeah. 100%.
That's pretty damn funny, man. I think about just listening to you talk here, the ones that already have vendors in damn place, right? It's like, maybe pain doesn't exist now, but it's going to at some point. And there's usually some kind of shelf life for vendors like these, in my experience, because there was a shelf life for us in insurance. Okay, we've had this client for 6 years. Somebody's going to come in, and at least we're going to look at an RFP to potentially make a change. We're not firing you, but now it becomes, okay, this shit show, because you have to defend every decision you damn made, and all these other guys get to chime in with, oh, we would have done this differently. Well, yeah, you got fucking hindsight's 20/20, motherfucker. If you were in the thick of it, you wouldn't. So my point was going to be that you just fucking linger, dude. Just stay on these guys' radar screens. Make a good impression, and in 2 years, make sure they fucking remember Conner's fucking name or your fucking name, and you get that phone call then. Just linger. Because if there's no problem with their existing vendor and they're happy with the results, you're probably not going to be able to create a problem, right? Or is there something else you guys offer that no one else could do?
No, and you probably did the same thing in insurance. Yeah. It's just keeping them in the follow-up bucket and being persistent and bringing value every single time. So maybe you had a really good call with him. He's like, we're cool with our vendor, but we do reevaluate in like 6 months. I'm going to call him back and say, hey, John, I know we spoke 6 months ago. Happy with the current vendor. Obviously don't want to if you're married to him, I don't want to rip and replace, but we have a little bit of a unique perspective on what we're doing for threat hunting. And, it's not an implementation conversation by any means, but, I guess, would you be open to check it out next week? That's it. And then it's just, that's market dominance. Yeah. Right? It's like, where sales reps, everyone looks in like a 3-month window where it's, if it's not closing in a month, it's over. Right. No, keep on these guys forever, because if you have, if you're on dirty joke level, he's probably the best at this. Like he'll call a guy and put him in his follow up, and he just will say jokes, and then the guy will remember him because he's so memorable.
That's a funny guy.
Or I'm just trying to figure out like what their weekend is or what's going on. Just something small, like, oh yeah, I'm going to see my grandma up in Florence. Type that in my notes. Call him 3 months later. Okay, yeah, no. When we last talked, how's your grandma up in Florence doing? Oh, right. Wait, what the fuck? Oh yeah, Conner. Yeah. And then sometimes just off that, they'll set a meeting, because they're like, okay, well, I don't particularly 100% need this right now, but he remembered my fucking grandma in Florence. So I guess I'll see what this guy has to say.
That's good sales skills. And I got to tell you, man, also, if the buyer that you're dealing with if the decision maker is not the CEO, if you're dealing with somebody that reports up to the CEO or whatever, and they're using a different vendor right now, dude, the biggest pain in the ass is having to fucking reinvent the wheel with a new vendor on shit, right? So like, for him to be able to say, oh, I've known these guys actually the last 7 months. I've met with them a few different times. We don't need to go through some big process to interview a bunch of companies. I'm already comfortable with these guys. Current guys fucked up. Let's make the move. You know what I mean? To me, that's just all part of the damn process.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, which a lot of people don't understand, or just, they just want to do a bunch of volume and not actually retain people, just like you were saying.
Are you seeing companies like more startup company types in nature that don't even have internal sales? It's really just the CEO and his assistant, and they legitimately need you guys to set meetings because that's not their skill set at all?
Yeah, that's one of our clients, Dark Point. That's, you hit the head, nail right on the head, however the fuck you say it. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a guy's named Sam Wong. He's very impressive with what he does. He does all the pen testing for the government of Ontario. Wow. Runs all this red teams. bunch of cybersecurity stuff. So he created his own company, and he knows all the cyber things, but he can't sell really. So, I mean, Cavin was on a call with him the other day, pretty much just helping the sale. And Sam went to end the meeting, and he's like, "Okay, bye, see you later." And Cavin saw him. He's like, "Whoa, wait, when are we meeting next?" And so he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, he's just a tech guy."
Right, he doesn't look at it that way.
Exactly. So
so part of the service is a discovery call consulting as well. So we'll of course get that person, get them on a meeting. We're going to reminder call them 24 hours before. We're going to be on that meeting and hand it off. So I'll be like, "Hey, John, I know when we spoke, this was kind of your needs and pain points. I'll pass it off to Conner here, who's the sales rep, a lot better and smarter looking than I am. He'll go through the whole rundown." And then once, so that's when they're running the discovery call. But there's some people that don't want to run the discovery call, so we run it for them. Right? And so we do that first call. We gather as much intelligence, needs, info as possible. So, and then we, usually since we're in cybersecurity, we then schedule a scoping call where like especially with Sam, he's such a technology guy. He can just go and just environment. Like, okay, what are you using for endpoint? Windows, Linux? Are you mostly on-prem or cloud? And then he can just do what he does best, and we can take the burden of the sales process off him. And that's really our mission, is like, hey, we want to be your sales arm for your company. We can be as much as just, sending you leads, as well as doing the discovery call. And we actually are moving. So 80% of our business is, of course, helping clients. We're moving to being consultants, where we actually sell the technology as well. Got it. But we're doing that. We want to do that as smart as possible. So you got to pay the bills first, and then we'll move towards actually selling this technology. All right. So we actually just got our first close at the 3 days after Christmas. He tripped over a gentleman who, what happened? He got hacked, like M365 breach.
Oh yeah. Cold called him. He's like, hey, I asked for 30 seconds. He's like, yeah, I've only got 30. I was like, okay, jackass. So start talking really slow, and finishes. He's like, man, I can't talk right now. I was like, he's like, my M365 just got hacked. Oh my God. I was like, okay, fuck. Hold on 1 second. I was calling for a phone company called Vonage, right? I was like, let me take my sales hat off. I actually don't work for Vonage. I'm a trusted advisor, preferred partner of theirs, right? I actually work for it. Didn't tell them I was a founder. I actually work for Exodus Sales Collective, right? So what we do is actually technology brokerage. So instead of you looking for 15 different things to help you, right? So in 15 different meetings, I'm going to get you with my specialist, Cavin, over here, who's actually going to be able to go through and look through all your needs and then narrow it down. And then you're only going to need 1 to 2 meetings, not 15. So he's like, okay, yeah, I'm coming. Cavin called him, and ended up closing him in literally less than a week and a half.
Week close, which does not happen in cybersecurity. Usually it's a long sales process.
That's awesome, dude. So wait, Vonage is a client of yours?
Well, we work with them. Oh, are you familiar with them?
I think I want to say I use them. Do they do like web-based phone systems?
Yeah,
dude. I at some point I ended up moving it off their Google Voice, but I was in deep with Vonage early on.
Shout out to our boy Nate over there. He's a man.
What's up, Nate? Yeah. Look up Northwest Comprehensive. I think we were using you guys back in, I don't even know when the hell do they? They're kind of new, right? No, I don't know. I was using them at some point between 2005 and 2014, and then I moved all my shit to Google Voice, and Google Voice fucking shit the bed with their fucking voice services. You guys are young, you probably don't even know. They were all over Google Voice systems, and they just decided they're not going to keep pursuing it. Yeah, it worked for like a year, but anyway. Well, listen, guys, this is freaking great. Why don't we, before we end, I want you guys to give a quick little background on how you two came to be. I mean, you guys are both in your fucking 20s. It sounds like you had good jobs in corporate America or in a W-2 type of setting, and here you guys are. Sounds like your company is, on the way up here. Come back here in 5 years, and you're probably bigger, and everything's going in the right direction. But how did you guys become co-founders? Because to me, that's one of the more difficult things to do. This had to be one of you guys had to have had the idea and bring the other one in, but that conundrum of do I need a partner or not for this? Yeah,
it's. I think we complement each other really well, but. When we actually was going to do this business with another person. Okay. And we were going to do the solar thing. We were going to pawn off. So we said no to a solar company, and Conner was looking for work. And so my buddy's like, oh, what if we just like and referenced him to the company we said no to. And so we did that, and Conner's like, what the heck? I want to work with you guys. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we love Conner. It's like, oh yeah, come work with us.
Yeah, they're going to like Texas, and they're trying to ship me off to Ohio or some shit. And I was like, why would I not go with you guys? What the fuck?
Yeah. Like, all right, come along.
Like, you guys are assholes, but
that's pretty funny.
And so we started working, and he's probably the best networker connector I know. So he was just like, oh, I can help you guys. I know this guy. I know this company. I can get you. And he was just working for free, just helping us. I was like, so I was telling my buddy, I'm like, we need to bring him in. He's so valuable. Right. So we started to bring him in, and he just, my buddies decided, I want to do some other stuff. So we looked at each other and we're like, oh, we can do this. Yeah. And I think we work really well because he's just like, there's no fear button in his brain. He just goes. And I'm very like, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, like to kind of make everything perfect as far as the process and the sales methodology. And I think we're a good deal.
Well, I'll tell you guys what, man, just in talking to you here, you guys have the right outlook in your approach to sales and how you're doing it, between some of the things you said from a networking perspective and from some of the things you said, almost like that subtle, like borderline self-deprecating way. Well, I'm not nearly smart enough for this, you know what I mean? Or just, keeping yourself in that area. That was the approach I took. And I got to tell you guys, coming from solar too, where it's direct to consumer, where it's more of a pushy type of sale, in my opinion, not knowing too much about it, but it's more of a aggressive type of sale. This business to business side is a very, very different process. And it seems as if you guys are mastering that. Additionally, you guys are coming to this dinner that I'm having tonight. You guys are going to be the youngest people in that room. Actually, Austin Eckler is going to be there, and his fiance. They're about your age, but you're going to be in there with a bunch of 30s, 40s, and 50-somethings that are millionaire entrepreneurs, right? And I mean, you guys are doing everything right. So congratulations.
Appreciate
all right,
it.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to end it with this, guys. Each of you guys got to come up with a different answer. All right, Cavin, what movie do you recommend to the 2000% Raise audience? Doesn't have to be about anything we talked about. It could be anything.
Hot Rod.
Hot Rod.
Cool Beans.
Oh yeah,
I can watch that. It's the greatest. It's so funny.
All right.
Gods of war, may your hammer be mighty. There's so many great quotes.
Dude, just by your demeanor right now, I thought you were gonna say dude, where's my car or something like that. All right, and what do you got, Conner?
I don't know. I'm a big Goodfellas fan.
Boom.
I love any mafia movie. You know, they all move in silence. They're like tell you fuck you without really saying fuck you.
Yep.
I like that style.
Yeah.
And yeah, love Goodfellas.
Goodfellas probably my number one, buddy. So well done.
Perfect.
Well done. My guest today, Nicole Vallance, is this came out of a clear blue sky. Another guest on the show had recommended her. I thought we would kind of vibe well. I looked into her a bit. I started kind of thinking to myself, this is going to be different because she's going to have a lot to say about executive leadership, about, I'm thinking she's going to go that corporate America route, and she does this for a living. And I said, Nicole, who are most of your clients? And I'm just, of course, assuming, people like her with that type of job are brought in and paid a pretty penny to talk to executives at big companies. And I'm sure she is, and she'll talk about that. But she also mentioned that she works with pastors, and that she's Christian and tends to try to work with mission-driven companies. And Nicole, you're hearing this for the first time from me. I know you did limited research on me, and you probably looked at my social media and you see me yelling at the screen, and Nicole's probably like, what did I get into here? But one of the things I did to build my business was I focused on higher education institutions, and small private colleges were a big part of that. So where all my money came from, people don't hear me talk about this much on social media because it's really kind of, they want to hear the motivation on leaving your job in corporate America, giving yourself a 2000% raise and striving and hearing that story. But how did I actually do it? And I owe a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot to mission-based Christian universities across this country. I got in really tight with them early on, started going to their conferences, became a known entity within them. And CFOs that really, anywhere from the smaller Bible colleges to the bigger multi-campus Christian schools, anywhere from
Appalachian Bible College in West Virginia, who has 20 employees, to Oral Roberts University, and really everything in between. And for those of you that don't know, Nicole's nodding her head. She understands what I'm talking about, but that would be a big difference in size of institutions when I mention schools like that. And it's always funny. Oh, I heard of that school. They made the Final Four back in like 1998 in basketball or something. That's sometimes the only reason people hear about some of these schools. But I came up with a value proposition that was specific to them, and they gravitated towards it. Now, one of the things that I never did do was try to be someone I'm not. I grew up Catholic. I do consider myself now as non-denominational Christian. But when I'd go to their conferences and I'd be in these rooms and they'd bring out a Christian singer where everybody knew every word of the darn song, I wasn't sitting there pretending I knew the words too. I wasn't reading the book the night before. I was very respectful. I think in one of my early dinners with a group of CFOs, I learned very quickly that you better pray. Don't pick up your piece of bread before somebody stops and prays. And, it's just not really the way. Maybe at dinner, but not at lunch. No, it wasn't really the way. It's just I didn't know. And nobody would ever be any rude to me or whatever. And, it was obvious, and then when at the end of a prayer, I would cross my heart like the Christians do, or the Catholics do. And they wouldn't do that either. But it when I was 27, 28 years old, starting off, I'd worry about stuff like that. You know what I mean? And as time went, they didn't necessarily care or not. Maybe if I was atheist or something, they might have a problem with me, but they didn't necessarily care that I wasn't as Christian as them. They cared that I was going to do a good job and follow up with what I say I'm going to do. And over the years, I kept showing up and earning more and more of their respect. And that's really probably about half of my success in insurance was due to relationships like that. And I can also tell you too, and Nicole, you're probably going to appreciate this, there's being around people with those beliefs and stuff, as long as they're not trying to jam it down your throat, you pick up some good damn things along the way. There's a gentleman named, I'm not going to embarrass him with his last name, but he's at a Nazarene institution out near where I live. And he's the CFO there and previously the HR director. And, very, very subtly, it'll come up in conversations that he's going out to, I believe it was like, where'd he go? Not Somalia, but like Tanzania or something. He was doing a mission with his kids, for 2 weeks every December. And, they're doing stuff in villages and he's not out there talking about it. He's not posting it on LinkedIn. It happened to come up because we became pretty good friends over the years, You think I was pretending I don't drink on the weekends when I'm around? He knows I drink on the weekends. He sees that I have a daughter, at the time I had a daughter that the mom I wasn't married to. Like, they can still see these things, but it didn't work against me. And it really all kind of, makes me who I am. And I think I'm happy to say that, these relationships, I think, influenced me in ways I wouldn't have realized. So it's, I haven't had a chance to reflect on anything like that on this show previously, Nicole. So I wanted to share that with you. Now, let's go the other direction here. My management and leadership styles are very different than I think most. I've tried to transition my leadership skills. In fact, when I sold my company, I went from being a smaller organization into part of a bigger organization. And I learned quickly that once you have hundreds of people involved and you're in leadership versus a handful or of a couple handfuls of people involved in leadership, it's difficult to manage with the style that I had brought to the table. And what I mean by that is, hey, man, listen, everyone's going to lunch. Hey, it's Alex's last day. We're all getting together and having a party for him. And I was kind of everyone's best friend with respect. If you didn't respect me, you probably didn't work there very long in the first place, so it didn't matter. But we all became friends. We do things on Friday afternoons and say, okay, there's a group of younger people in the office. And then I was the group, me and a few other people were the group of the older people. We would have 90s hip hop days versus modern hip hop days. And we debate over lunch, who's better, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg or Future and 21 Savage. And these are real conversations. We actually enjoyed each other's presence. Okay. Well, when I come to the new organization, like I said, it's hundreds of people, and I got more and more people looking at me, not necessarily as direct reports, but in that leadership category. You start to learn that animosity gets created. I'm doing my thing with my group just the way I was doing it when we were independent. Now we're part of this company, and they're not doing luncheons like me and other groups. And instead of me maybe promoting this change, hey, we got a pretty good thing going on over here. There starts to be the jockeying of levels upward. People are trying to manage upward. Well, John and his team are always spending money on this, and John and his team are always doing that. It's like, listen, I'm going to make up a name, Peggy, but I'm specific towards somebody. Listen, Peggy, do this shit and adapt to it instead of bitching about it. You're not as likable as a person. You don't have the same camaraderie as your team. That's why they don't want to come in an hour early and meet you for breakfast. You know what I mean? Don't hate on me because of it. You know what I mean? So I learned that as I grew with the company that bought mine, I didn't want to. Okay, I didn't want to become what I would have needed to be to fit in that environment. Now, I had this safety net of this company that I sold and put me in a position where I don't need to work anymore. So it's unfair. But I could tell you, though, in retrospect, it's nice having that option where you don't have to do something you don't want to do. But I did realize that if I didn't make the money I made on that sale, and I just made a fraction of it and still had to work there the rest of my career and not just for the employment contract, I would have needed to adapt my leadership style 1,000%. So this will be an interesting conversation today. I threw a lot at you there in the intro, Nicole. Nicole's like, well, am I a guest on this show, or am I just like your audience, John? Nicole Vallance is an acclaimed keynote speaker, executive leadership coach, and organizational consultant. She works with high-profile leaders, influencers, and executives. Featured as a thought leader at Tim Story Live. Tim Story is very keynote speaker for LA Style Magazine, 2023 award ceremony at the Grammy Museum. She consults organizations and developing leaders, engaging teams, creating a culture people want to be a part of, which is what I was just referring to there, and communicating a clear and compelling vision. She has spoken on stages with Devon Franklin, Jamie Kern-Lima, Emily Ford, Vicky Keller, and Brian Covey, to name a few. She brings life and energy to the stage every time she speaks. And I got to tell you, that's another thing I envy. I got to get on stages. My style is one that's, I think, maybe niche for an audience, but I would like to do more public speaking. Without further ado, Nicole Vallance, welcome to 2000% Raise.
Thank you, John. Happy to be here. Excited for where this is going to go. I'm not sure, but we're here. So,
well, you're in, and where are you? You're in Santa Clarita,
California, Los Angeles. Yes, California. Okay.
Now, here's another thing you probably don't know about me. I have a second home in West Hollywood. Yeah. So West Hollywood's on Friday and Saturday nights walking around there. Very, very Christian oriented down there.
I'll never live anywhere else but California. I love California. It doesn't matter to me. I think it's the best on earth.
Are you raised there? Are you born there?
Yep, born and raised in California, and I love it. Like, I'll never live in. I don't know why anyone would go vacation anywhere else. We got Manhattan Beach, we got Newport, we got all the things. We got Mammoth. So I'm through California. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm slowly adapting. People make fun of me though with they're like, because I'm in Illinois and then California, they're like, you found the one state with worse taxes to buy a second home, and one of the only states worse than Illinois.
Worth it.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about, I was taken aback when you said that you work with pastors. I mean, looking at your resume here and really what you're all about. How did the transition, and then you also say mission-driven organizations. When you say that, are you
Are you saying that mission in terms of Christian beliefs?
Well, listen, John, I mean, my number, one client, a recent client, is a woman, Amanda Morici. She leads a company called App Adventures, and she helps thought leaders, influencers bring their products to market to products and services to market faster. And we need that. If you've got a product, if you've got a service that's going to help people, like I want to help Amanda. She creates those custom apps for them. And so she's super passionate about serving her clients, and I'm super passionate about serving her. And so, I'm a Christian. I gave my life to Christ when I was 19. I'm unapologetic. I want to help people know God. And so, yes, I want to help the churches because God, for the love of God, if your listeners know, people don't go to church anymore. And there's a good reason for it. Some churches need to close. Some pastors shouldn't pastor anymore. And I just think that, the church can do better. They can reach people better. They can love people better. And so I'm unapologetic. I think that God is misrepresented in a lot of ways. And so I'm going to get into the churches. I'm going to kick over some tables. I'm going to set some things right. But I'm also going to go to corporate America because God is looking for distribution channels. And I'm telling you, pastors are one of them. They're not the only one. And I would say they're not the most important one. I think that people don't know, John, 138 of 140 miracles that Jesus performed were, guess what? Not in the church. It was in the marketplace. And so, God is at work in the world, and the business leaders and business owners, the capitalists that are out there making the investments, taking the risk, doing the job, employing people, like those are the ones that I want to serve. I want to help you. I want to, help you accomplish your mission, raise up leaders, do it different. And so I'm super passionate about that. So yeah, I live in both worlds. I'm unapologetic. Like you, John, like I'm going to show up. There's no other Nicole Vallance on the earth. And so I'm going to be Christian. I'm going to be a badass leader too. I'm going to help the church grow, and I'm going to help your company grow.
Now, you said you were 19 when you became a Christian. What did you identify as prior to that?
Catholic. So, and so Catholics are Christians, but I'll say for me, I was a Catholic by culture. I did catechism. I went through confirmation. We were the Christmas and Easter crowd, and I believed in God, but I got to this place in 19 when I was president of my sorority in college that I started asking those questions that we all ask, God, if you're real, make yourself real. And he sure did. And so, I gave my life to Christ, made that personal decision then.
Yeah. And Nicole, I know, is choosing her words right there, because the last thing she probably wants to do is come down on any type of religion, or any denomination, especially of Christianity, right? But really anyone, I would imagine you mean. But I got to tell you, it was a learning curve for me. And I'll just educate our audience a little bit, Nicole, because a lot of people don't know it. It's second nature to you. You're like, well, wait a minute. What do you mean you found Christianity if you were already Catholic? There is a big, I want to choose my words because I don't want to offend Nicole or have her have to correct me. But there's a disparity between really the rest of the Christians and Catholics. And they don't necessarily appreciate Catholicism. In fact, if you look at the Catholic religion, I'm not saying what I believe. I'm just saying what Christians would say is, or some at least would say is the Catholics lost their way because they made it more about traditions of their church dating back to Rome and everything else, and not about Jesus Christ. And this includes the Pope. The Pope is not mentioned. It's not mentioned. The idea that there is a human being that would be closer to God than other human beings, some may argue, is not a Christian way of thinking. Okay. And also there's some habits. Let's go back and forth just for a little bit of fun here, Nicole. I'll name a couple. That come to mind immediately. All right. Catholics will drink. All right. The Christians in this category, at least, usually don't. Catholics are not into birth control, where Christians tend to not have an issue with it. Now, both of which are definitely against abortion, 150,000%, right? But birth control, the traditional Catholics would not be for, where the Christians would. Am I missing any glaring ones that our audience the general public might think is interesting, Nicole?
None that come to mind. Those are some of the big ones.
Those are the two big ones, right? So you go into these churches, you had said sometimes they need you. So you're going in there not just as a speaker to motivate. You're going in there and helping them reorganize and restructure the way it should look.
Yeah, there's a myth between the sacred and the secular. And, I think a lot of times churches and pastors are trying to build a kingdom unto themselves. They're trying to, get people to go to church on Sunday. And it's not about that. It's about going out into our regular, ordinary lives and helping people, serving people. All the issues that you just brought up, John, like, I don't really care about them. Like, they all have to bow to the great mission. Like, people are pro-life, pro-choice. They are, Republican, Democrat. They, for birth control, not for, I don't care. What I care about is every single person having the opportunity to accept Christ into their life. And the reason people don't want anything to do with God is because a lot of times they don't want anything to do with the church. They think it's irrelevant. They think that pastors and churches don't understand their lives. And so I help churches, John, and that's kind of like the way that I give back, for the churches that want help, that want to reach people. But my favorite thing to do is work with organizations and businesses, with people of all different faiths and backgrounds. And yeah, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to help them engage their teams, develop leaders, create a culture that they want to be a part of. And yeah, at the end of the day, John, like, my agenda is to, especially help those Christian business owners transform their workplace into a mission field. But like, listen, like, people, I don't care what business you're in, we all get to this place in our life where we put our head down at night and we have things that are going on, a divorce, a loss of a loved one, a change in our career, and we're praying to a God, even if we're not sure if he's real. And I want to be that person in people's lives that if they get connected to me, if and when they want to get connected to the Lord.
Oh, wow. I love that. And it is part of, what's your position? And is this something that would be part of the conversation? You just talked about how the issues I brought up isn't really those are the details, maybe not the point. And I think I get that, but okay. A Christian-based private organization that has Christian goals. What would the conversation be right now? I know the Methodist Church I have a friend that's a reverend at a Methodist church, and there's quite this going on about LGBTQ marriages being performed in the church and what their position is on that. And, how about social issues like that as a private sector company, where you're trying to say, okay, these are your Christian beliefs. You're trying to make that the best, the most you can about the organization, but society is pushing maybe something that's not so Christian looking on the surface. Is that something you just avoid those topics, or you go there?
Yeah, no, I avoid it. I mean, like, I'm an American. Like, I think we all have a freedom to run our businesses how we want to run them, to see our values exercised as we see fit. And so go ahead and go about it. But what I am absolutely sick of, don't want to see anymore, is people complaining about other people's, quote, sin, what they think is sin, without, you can't have compassion on people you're not connected to. So I am sick, John, sick of people judging other people's sin while they've got their own sin in the background and pretending like God has a problem with other people's LGBTQ, when God also has a problem with the way that you speak to your wife, when God also has a problem with the way that you cheat, lie, steal, gossip. Like, let's not pretend that any one of us are any better, like, than anyone else. And so, we all get on our soapbox, but let me just tell you, like, when Jesus came, he came healing the sick, he came restoring, he came, getting down in people's business. That's why everybody loved the Lord. And so, I think that we've got to be about that as Christians. And so, when I talk to Christians and they complain about all the things that they complain about, I say, okay, great. Who is the last person, like, that has that particular issue that you have a problem with, that you loved, that actually likes you, that wants to have a relationship with you? Like, nobody. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because sometimes we're about things that we make bigger than the one thing that we really should be about, which as a Christian is ultimately leading people into a relationship with Christ.
Yeah, I see this on the internet. Listen, Nicole, I do a bunch of stuff on social media and stuff, and it's always so damn funny. I had a guy, like, they're just the hypocrisy, right? Somebody called me a name or something like that. I go look at the guy's profile, and I'm not going to say it because you're Christian, but he was calling me a certain name that would mean I'm not, you know, I'm into myself and like, he called me a douche. Okay, Nicole, he called me a douche. And then I go look at his page and it's a bunch of pictures of himself taking mirror selfies with his shirt off. But he's calling me the douche. I mean, he's a hypocrite, Nicole. But in a bigger picture though, right? You see this with real issues, right? So I have a friend of mine, or an associate of mine, I should say, that is always going on this tangent with politics, with the welfare system, and it's just a cyclical, and you know, if people took care of their kids, single parent households are the, you know, the cause of this. You got to fix this. All this other stuff we're doing ain't gonna matter. I know for a fact he has 2 kids 3 states away that he doesn't take care of. But whenever there's an audience around him, he makes this freaking point. I go, you are such a hypocrite, right? But then if you go to what you're saying though, all right, do I have stuff come out of my mouth that doesn't always make sense? So I don't even judge him. I don't even call him out, because it's like, you know, you can keep going with this, right? What's the most important meeting a leader needs to have every week, Nicole? You know, that's one of the things I struggled in my company with was, all right, you know, I'd come in with an agenda. We'd have our Monday damn morning week. This is what the week looks like, okay? And I'd have a general agenda and there'd be different bullet points. And I thought I nailed it. Well, when I came to the new company, we got blended in with everybody else, and I wasn't the one leading the meetings. And it was like, dude, you got 70 people sitting around a table right now. You don't even have an agenda. You're winging this crap, and you have all of these employees sitting there, and we're talking about the freaking weather. So I'm really curious to hear what your position is on this.
There's no way you're a great leader. I don't care. You're not a good leader if you don't know the anniversary of your direct reports, if you don't know the names of their children, if you don't know their birthdays, if you don't know what's going on in their personal life. We call you a bad leader. We call you should not be leading anymore. It does not matter. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how much money you've made. I don't care how successful you think you've been. If you are leading an organization and you don't know your employees, you don't have a great relationship with people that report to you, no less than 3, no more than 12, then you don't deserve to be in a position of leadership. It is our responsibility as leaders to care for the people that we lead. And actually, Gallup says that 80% of employees are disengaged, and that 70% of that is directly correlated to their relationship with their direct supervisor. So you want to be a good leader, make sure that you're having no less than 3, no more than 12 one-on-one meetings with your direct reports, the people that you're leading each and every single week. John, when I work with organizations, I roll out what I call the mobilization model. It's how do we mobilize the mission and purpose of your company? And there's 4 phases that I take companies through. And one of those is engaging teams. You cannot engage a team. You cannot unless you are doing these 3 things in your one-on-one meetings. Telling them that you care about them, what's going on in their lives. Telling them the values, the culture, what you see them doing really well, and then coaching them and holding them accountable to exactly what you want them to do. Sales goals, character, all the different things, soft skills, hard skills, whatever it is that we need them to work on. And so that's the most important meeting you need to have. And so many of us, we think that it's our staff meeting. Sure, that's important. We think it's the morning huddle. Sure, absolutely. But never be too busy to have those one-on-one meetings, 30 minutes to an hour each and every single week with the people that you lead. You must coach. Daniel Goleman wrote an article for Harvard Business Review called Leadership to Get Results. He interviewed 3,000 executives and said, what are the 6 leadership styles based on the 4 areas of emotional intelligence that leaders need to be able to deploy to have the most success in their organization? Every single one of us leaders, we need to be able to operate in all 6 of the styles, kind of like when you golf. You need to be able to use your driver and putt and sandwich and all the things. And if you don't know how to use those different clubs, you're not going to be successful in the game of golf. Well, Daniel Goleman found that the 2 styles that a leader needs to have is the ability to cast and communicate a vision. This is where we're going. Come with me. We have a mission. We have a purpose, and it matters. And number 2, coaching. I wish, John, everybody came into our organization and, oh my gosh, crushed it, killed it. We didn't have to meet with them and develop them. Well, I'm so sorry. That's not how it goes. You need to coach people, develop them, and that can't happen unless you know them and you're meeting one-on-one.
And what's the way there? You know, a couple things right there, right? So when people come into an organization, especially a big one, all right, and you'll hear people talk about like, well, we're a really flat organization where there's no, whatever, they say that we're a flat organization, but then you'll also hear other organizations talk about these opportunities for advancement. And one of the things I've struggled with when I've seen companies do that is you can't all advance. Quit promising it to everybody that there's an opportunity for advancement, at least from a position perspective and job title perspective or responsibility perspective, I guess. Is there a way, around this? And if you don't have that carrot as motivation, how do you identify where, hey, Susie's a great account manager, I got to tell you, and so is Tim. They're both great, but they're not ever going to move up into management. But we want to keep them as really damn good account managers, both of them. How do we keep them engaged, and how do we know if they start to not be?
The goal is not to promote ourselves and we don't want to have a culture where people are we want to have a culture, John, where it's not about where I'm going, it's about where we're going. It's about the mission that we're on. If we see people, listen, Devon Franklin just produced this movie called Flamin' Hot Cheetos. You might have heard of it. And he had a culture in his organization. Flamin' Hot Cheetos is about the culture in Frito-Lay where I think he was a janitor, had this idea and was able to get to the top of the organization. Why? Because the mission and the purpose of the organization was clear. And so if we are communicating the purpose and who is affected and whose life is changed because of the purpose and reason for our company, then people don't really care what they do. They just care that they get to be on the team that's accomplishing the mission, number one. Number two, our goal is the business owner, CEO, executive should not be to keep people in our organization forever. It should be to develop them to the best they can be. And if there is a place for them to become all of that in our company, great. But if we send them out to be able to do and be that in another company, that's great too. And if we will create cultures where people know that, hey, if I go work for John Incorporated for Connected with Nicole, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna accomplish a mission that matters while I'm there. And even if I don't move up in their organization, I'm going to get coached and developed and be sent out into another organization. I can do that too. And if we will create that, oh my gosh, John, what better leaders? We can't be any better than that. That's the best kind of leader there is.
I got to tell you that what you just said is so powerful, and it's going to resonate so well with our audience, because one of the things I say is that the salespeople, when you try to scale your organization, the problem with especially smaller companies and in service-oriented industries where you're bringing maybe accounting or consulting or brokerage, something that doesn't require a lot of startup capital, and you train that person well, and then they do well, what's to stop them from doing the same thing you did when you left your employer to start that same company? And what you're saying right now, Nicole, is so be it. We got them while they're here, though. We made the best we could out of them while they're here.
Yeah, Seth Godin talks about that, John. He talks about, like, let's stop pretending that our organization is a family. It's not. Let's stop pretending that our goal is to keep people here forever. It's not. Let's see our job. And this is my problem, John, with business owners and leaders and executives, is when business owners they must have a vision for how their product or their service is going to help their clients and their customers, but they also must have a vision for how their organization is going to help their employees. They must. The culture is not just for our customers and our clients. The culture is for our employees. And if you will create a culture and environment that people want to be a part of, whether they stay or whether they go, isn't that the goal? To make people better, to serve customers and to serve people?
Gosh, and you say it so convincingly and matter-of-factly, and I believe you. And it's almost like I feel stupid almost. Like because I've never looked at it that way. I'm not kidding you. I've literally changed hiring practices because if I bring in someone too good, I know I'm not going to have them for very long. You know what I mean? And maybe when you're smaller, maybe you have to pay attention a little bit to that, but ultimately you shouldn't, according to what you're saying. I've never looked at it that way.
If you're a good leader, John, and let's say, okay, then people don't follow companies. They don't follow paychecks. They follow leaders. And so if you are a phenomenal leader, it does not matter if you sell life insurance. It does not matter. It does not matter what you do. If you are a good leader and you are developing people, because every single one of us was designed to learn and grow and to be better. If you are a great leader, people will follow you. They don't care what they do. Start with cynics, start with why. They don't care what we do. It doesn't matter. I'll sell anything. I'll move any product. I'll serve any client. It all matters, right?
Yeah,
it all matters.
Yeah. And there you go, Nicole. You turned me around. Now I feel good about myself again. Thank you.
There you go. You're welcome, John.
Here's what's funny though. In my first book though, Nicole, that I wrote back in 2011, it was all about just leave. I'd worked in corporate America at Arthur J. Gallagher and Company and left to do the exact same thing, competing with them from my kitchen table. And one of the chapters, I didn't say it like you just said it, but it's the same damn thing. I said, one of the chapters called when you're finished learning, get out. There's nothing to hang out here for. You're not growing. Now it's time to go. And for me, that was really, it wasn't the money. I could live with the money. In fact, the money, because it's very easy in that industry. You're bringing in X and you're getting paid Y. What's the difference? And how much are they really giving you for that? Well, if growth and leadership and collaboration, that you're actually getting stuff from the environment you're in as part of that, oh, that could be worth 5X. You know what I mean? Screw the delta. That's worth more than the whole damn thing. You know what I mean? But if you don't have that, now you start paying attention. Okay, here's X, here's Y. What would an office really cost? Wait, what are they paying my account executive? What does that customer service line really do? Are they really that necessary? Start doing that math. Okay, bye. I'm going to start my own company. But you're saying the intangible, which is leadership of people that you're actually learning from. Wow, that's really good. And I got to tell you, subconsciously, that's what was happening to me, because I had good people that kept around. They followed me. They followed me. Listen, I didn't have 1,000 people working for me either, but it was enough when I talked about in the monologue, that environment that they wanted to be there, and the ones that didn't, when weren't. But they weren't leaving for that reason. Wow, good job, Nicole.
That's what it's about. We have to think about like when we're building our companies, we have to think about the people that come into our companies. Some are meant to stay and build with us for the life of our company, but some people are meant to be scaffolding. And we cannot undervalue scaffolding just because they're only in our company for a season. Sometimes we have to say like, hey, you're scaffolding. Maybe you're called to be a part, and going to choose to be a part of the long-term, but we need scaffolding. We need people that come in, bring their expertise, bring their talent for a season, and they move on to somewhere else. And that's okay. You can have, John, control in a company, or you can have growth, but you cannot have both. And you will grow exponentially if you make it your mission as a leader to coach and develop other people and help them become the best that they can be open-handedly. Every single person in your company, John, and the company of the people listening, should try to be replacing themselves as a leader. If you will bring the people that are under you up to your level, but see, we have a scarcity mentality. We think if I replace myself as a leader, well, then I'm not going to have a job. Well, that's a scarcity mentality. That's limiting beliefs. You have to know that you can't have somebody else and raise up somebody else to do your job without you becoming a better leader. The goal is, but see, people, John, were raised in the Industrial Revolution. We have this mindset of I'm going to go to work, get a job, and do a skill and be a technician. But as we develop people in our organizations to think about leadership and reproducing themselves, that's how we're going to make them better when they go into their next assignment.
And all of this is the opposite. Have you ever heard the term? I don't know if this was just unique to the context of my life, but have you heard the term managing up before?
I've not heard this. Nope.
Okay. So I learned this at the place that bought mine, and it was a private equity roll up, and it's a bunch of business owners now part of this organization, but we had a home office of the core company that bought us in the first place. And anyway, there became an environment that we were trying to impress. I wasn't, but we, meaning the people I was with, were the leaders. Were trying to impress the person up here rather than doing everything you just said down here by bringing these people up to our level. They were more worried about what do these guys up here think of us, and it was just a terrible way to run the organization. And I could see why it happened there. They grew so fast. They had private equity money behind them, and it was kind of like everyone's drinking out of a fire hose. So I could totally see why it happened. But as I took a step back and you just start paying attention, it just became so clear that, almost to the point where you don't want to give you're a leader, but you have someone you're reporting to as well. It's almost like you don't want to share ideas with him. You wanted to make sure the CEO knew it was your idea, because you start to be distrusting each other and crap. And I don't really blame anyone personally for that, but it's just interesting because that company, which I never say their name because they literally made me rich, and I don't want to ever say anything negative about them, but an organization like them, and really any organization, period, what you're describing, if you could actually attain that in your culture, holy crap. Now, I assume also, Nicole, in a sales environment, right? You hear a lot, we got a lot of sales professionals right here. Our audience is typically entrepreneurs, or people that were salespeople in corporate America that transitioned to be an entrepreneur, or people in corporate America that are never going to leave corporate America, but they're going to still listen to my stuff because they think it's entertaining. And they're going to go bitch to their boss about getting more money every year and use this as leverage, maybe, who knows? But there's this dynamic in different sales organizations, right? Especially in the business to business environment, where that salesperson, that top sales guy, the next step up is to be a sales manager and then sales leadership. Well, a lot of organizations, it's about 50-50. A lot of organizations, that also means a pay cut. Okay. Is everything you're talking about right now, does it also relate to a sales environment, or do you have to treat it a little bit differently?
No, it's the same. Find your lane and stick with it. Whether you're in sales, if you want to move up in leadership, great. If you want to stay in sales, great. Here's what employees need to understand. Salespeople need to understand. You don't work for a company. I don't care if you get a W-2 or a 1099. You don't work for anybody. You work for yourself, and you are contracting yourself out. And so it is your world. You get to decide who you want to work for, because there's a lot of companies you can work for. You get to decide what you want to sell. There's a lot of things you can sell. You get to make your own life. So own wherever you work. If you're leading your own organization, you're working for somebody else. Here's the number one thing that people need to do to cut through all of the BS, all the politics, all of the shenanigans that happen, and political, all things. Where if you're going to choose, if you leader are going to choose to work for yourself or work for somebody else, here's what you must make a decision. I am going to own this company like it's mine. I'm going to care about this company like it's mine. And if you'll do that, well, guess what? Then you're going to move up. Then you're going to be successful. Then you're going to be able to cut through the politics, because most people are in it for them. And us leaders, you can smell it from a mile away.
Yep.
You can't smell people that own the organization.
So along with that right there, okay, where do the boundaries come in terms of that person that's super motivated, thinking about this at 2 p.m. on a Sunday? What's your position maybe on work-life balance, and how a leader needs to recognize that maybe his lieutenants aren't, thinking along the same lines as him, and maybe don't text him at 7 a.m.?
Well, you can do whatever you want in your company. If you want a culture where everyone's working 24/7, go ahead. I think work-life balance is crap. Like, who cares? Like, if your mission matters, like, let's think about it 24/7. Listen, our generation, John, is about all the things since 2020 especially. Okay, people have time to be about something. They do. Yeah. People have time to comment on social media. They have time to talk endlessly till midnight, 2 a.m. with their friends about all the things that they're passionate about. If we're good leaders of our organization, well, if people are going to give their time, energy, and emotions to something, let's give them something to be about. Let's give them a mission to care about. And if people are looking, we were designed to accomplish something, to live on purpose. And so if we give something to be on purpose about, then we get one life, John. Shouldn't they? And wouldn't it be great if they actually cared about that 24/7? Sure, why not? If you're thinking about your organization 2 p.m. on a Sunday, then guess what? I've given you something to be about. God, please let the day die where companies are led by these dinosaurs who have this command, control, submit, and 9 to 5 mentality. No. No.
You know what I just took from what you just said there? I took it as this. It's like, hey, instead of me sending a message to my account manager on a Sunday and her not replying to it till Monday morning when she gets into work, me thinking, okay, well, she's not as, into this as I am, whatever. I should be looking at it as, I haven't made her feel like she has enough purpose in this.
Yes. You haven't done a good job leading her. Because if you're leading her, then guess what? She cannot wait to talk to you. She cannot wait to do her part in moving the mission forward. We have everybody doing jobs, but we have not connected them. And this is what I hope companies do, is connect everybody, align everyone around the vision. Patrick Lencioni says this, John. And this is so important. If you hear nothing else that I say, hear this quote from Patrick Lencioni. He says, if we can get everybody in the organization rowing in the same direction, we can dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. And so your job, John, as a leader, is to get that accountant aligned around a vision and give her something to be about. Because if it doesn't matter, if her job as an accountant doesn't matter, then freaking close the company. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. And listen, your company might just be in the business of making money and getting people rich. Hey, yes, let's do it. Why not? For sure. That's a great mission.
And getting and getting everyone aligned with what you just said there is, who is the outliers, or what person at that organization or group of people at that, maybe I'm leading you on this because I know where I'm trying to go with it, but I'll just freaking say it. I feel like the sales, like when I've sat in conferences at the company that I worked for before I sold my company, Arthur J. Gallagher, at the company I sold it to afterward, you know, we get these rah meetings and you want everybody aligned and, you know, whatever. And there's always like those outliers of usually people in the sales department, I feel like, that aren't ever really on board, and they're just about themselves. And do you just keep moving as a leader in that category, or do you try to address those people, or do you just move and know it's going to happen? They're going to exist within the organization.
Your job as a leader is to connect people's personal mission and see how it connects with the mission of the company. That's your job. And so if people are in it for themselves, they're up because people are. Who's not? If people have their own purpose, their own agenda, you have to help them see how partnering, not working for, partnering with your company, there's a synergy, there's a correlation, there's something that they have in common. And if they don't, then let them go. You know what I mean? Or be scaffolding for a season. But if you're a great leader and you have a mission and a purpose, I think if I'm leading my organization, John, or working with a company organization, I can take anybody in that organization, no matter what their purpose is, and see how they can, by working with my company or the companies that I consult for a season, help them see how it's a win-win. If it's a win for you and it's a lose for them, then don't be a crap leader. Your job as a leader is to help people see how it's a win for the organization and it's a win for them, and to see how their purpose and the purpose of the company connect.
Yeah. And I think, you know, what we talked about earlier, if they're growing and then they feel engaged and they have good leadership, and when I say good leadership in this context, somebody that they're actually learning from, gosh, you could, it's easy to align values. When it comes just down to money or prestige in the company, sometimes, you know, the company might not have the value proposition that aligns with what that person wants. And as you said earlier, maybe it's time for that person to go and move on to something else then, right?
And the reason we should let people go is because they're not a good culture fit. And what I've found, John, is that a lot of business owners and leaders don't have they have a culture, but it's not the one that they want. And they complain about it, they cry about it, they don't like it. Well, guess what? You're the boss. So you know, create a culture that you celebrate, that you want. Don't tolerate behavior you don't want, address it. And when I say don't tolerate, it means if you're having those one-on-one meetings and you're having your direct reports having those one-on-one meetings, then guess what? In those meetings, you address things that you don't want to see anymore, right? And we're pack people, okay? It's tribal leadership, right? We're created and designed to be a part of a tribe. And if that tribe has a strong enough culture and we're talking about that culture and we're celebrating that culture, then people either stay with us or they leave. And if they leave, that's okay, you know? But this is how John Wooden, new players would come onto the UCLA basketball team, and he'd say, listen, a lot of ways you tie your shoes. This is how we're going to tie our shoes. You don't have to tie your shoes this way, but if you're going to be on the UCLA basketball team, this is how you're going to tie your shoes. I don't care how good you are.
Well, my freshman year at Notre Dame, one of the first speeches, Lou Holtz was the head coach at the time. He said to us, he goes, Notre Dame football is bigger than you when you were in high school. I don't care all the school records you broke. It's bigger than me. This thing keeps moving, whether any of us are on it or not. All right. You need to understand that now. And so something that always just stuck with me, because he was this legendary head coach saying it about himself. You know what I mean? Let's end it with this, Nicole. So first of all, connected with Nicole, give us, I have a question I'm going to ask you at the end here, but give us your contact information for our audience.
Yeah. So it's connectedwithnicole.com. If your listeners will text LEAD to 33777, I'm going to send them the most important article on leadership and a leadership assessment that they'll ever read and take. And then if they want to set up a free strategy call with me, I'll send them the link to do that. So LEAD to 33777. But connectedwithnicole.com is my website, and they can check out all the things that I do there.
Awesome. Awesome. And we ask everybody to leave us with this. It doesn't have to be anything about anything we've talked about, Nicole. Nicole Vallance recommends what movie to the 2000% Raise audience?
What movie? What movie? Let's see. What is my favorite? So I like Scene 1 and Scene 2. So those are great movies to watch for fun and with your family. I've got a couple nieces, and we've watched those movies to death. So
there you go. Our first person that was about mission-based Christian leadership is now recommend two children's movies. Shocking. You're not recommending Wolf of Wall Street, Nicole?
Let's go. That concludes another episode of 2000% Raise with your host, John Cerasani. Make sure you're following on all social media platforms. Chai.